Tragedy that's struck Mumbai. A joyride to Mumbai's Elephanta Island turned into a tragic disaster when a speedboat crashed into a passenger ferry near Gateway of India on Wednesday. Now, the incident sparked panic among passengers who were taken aback by this sudden collision. But what really happened? Let's also give you a sense of what exactly happened that time. The Nilkamal ferry, as it was called, departed from Gateway of India, carrying passengers to the popular tourist destination. The ferry to Elephanta Caves is about an hour long and runs as frequently as every half an hour. Elephanta Caves is known for its ancient cave temples and cultural significance. Now, a viral video captured the moments that were leading up to the Navy speedboat colliding with this Mumbai ferry. The footage shows the Navy boat racing towards the ferry, attempting a sharp turn before ultimately crashing into it near the Butcher Island, leaving 13 people dead. 3 Navy personnel are among the dead, while more than 100 people were rescued as well. So what really caused this tragedy? The accident occurred when an Indian Navy boat collided with this Nilkamal passenger ferry. Now, the Navy boat was reportedly undergoing the engine trials in the Mumbai harbour, which indicates it was in a testing phase for its engines. Why was it happening during the peak hour is the question everybody is posing. The Navy said the speedboat went out of control because of an engine malfunction. There's a multi-agency investigation that's being conducted to ensure there's justice to the 13 dead and so that future such incidents are also averted. As per police sources, there was overcrowding on the passenger boat, and according to regulations, the passenger boat was permitted to carry 84 passengers plus 6 crew members, totaling a maximum of 90 people. However, the boat was also carrying 111 individuals at the time of the accident. Sources within the Indian Navy have confirmed to us that an inquiry will be initiated into the original engine manufacturers. Among those injured, 2 belong to the engine manufacturers. The engine maker is a company from South, and details being ascertained by Navy officials as we speak. So here are the big questions that are being posed. Why wasn't the Navy testing during the non-peak hours? Why was it doing that during the rush hours? Why was a dilapidated ferry allowed to function? Why was overcrowding allowed on the ferry? And why weren't ferry passengers provided life jackets, as is also the question why there was no safety training provided to passengers as well. And with that, let me in fact quickly bring in our guest to add more information and perspective. And for that, I'm joined in by retired Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, who's a former Commander-in-Chief of the Western Naval Command. Many thanks to you, sir, for joining in. Now, as per the Navy statement, the naval speedboat which crashed into the ferry was undergoing engine trials for a newly fitted engine. What are the protocols that should be followed for such trials? Should civilian boats be around when such trials are going on? And the moot question, as I highlighted, was why was it operating during peak hours?
Well, thank you for getting me on your program. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 18th. It was a special operations boat, meaning that it is used by the Marine Commandos. And it had new engines fitted, and it was going for trial. The time of 4 o'clock was chosen because over a period of 2-3 days, it was seen that it was a slightly low intensity of traffic. And only then the time was chosen. Now, it had 2 of the Marine Commandos and 4 representatives from the original equipment manufacturer. Now, this is a place called Karanja. It's not an island, but Karanja is another part of Mumbai, though they call it Karanja Island for some reason. Very close to that place because that's a naval area, and they do the trials in that area. Now this Neel Kamal, the civil ferry, apparently it had some 109 people on board. As I said, why it has happened, what went wrong, etc. As you rightly said, that the board of inquiry is going on, and also the police and navy are doing the inquiry all together. Right. They are helping each other. Now the ferry was en route from Gateway of India to Elephanta Island. Now, what has happened is that during the process of trial, when the ship was boat was Nilkamal was sort of came pretty close, the chap started avoiding it by giving a turn, as you can see. But unfortunately, that is the time the engine power has got stuck at the full power head, what is called the full head. And thereafter, he just could not avoid the collision, and it has gone and hit. And you have already said how many people have died. Yes. 2 people of the OEM and one of the Marine commandos have died. Mind you, a Marine commando is a very important asset, and nobody would like to, no Navy would like to lose. And I've been in the Western Command for long enough. Now, thereafter, immediately the SAR was launched, the naval helicopters, the Marine Police, the Coast Guard, and a whole lot. And they're still looking for it. The whole night the search has gone. They rescued two, and one Marcos in very critical condition out of the two. They are all both in naval hospital. 98 people were safely rescued, as you know, out of the ferry, but 9 have deceased and 2 are missing. Search for them is still going on.
Sir, I can't help but, compare this with the best bus accident also. Why I'm doing so, because back then, there were questions being raised with regards to the contractor of the bus, and which is why I want to ask you, is it not time to also sit up and take notice of these dilapidated ferries? Are they adequately equipped for security measures? The other question that's also being raised is, why weren't those ferry passengers provided with safety training or even life jackets?
Akanksha, the first thing is that the number of people what the ferry was supposed to carry, I wouldn't know, but I think more than 100 is little too much for the size of the ferry that I can see. But the Board of Inquiry will. Every passenger, whether on a ship or a boat, on a warship, they are all supposed to be in possession of a May vest, as we call it, the life jacket.
Right.
It's called May vest. And apparently, some people, if the May vest was there, then the people who had fallen in water, they should have been floating. The fact remains that 2 are missing. And fact remains that some people have died, they may have died of drowning. So obviously, everybody, Akanksha, was not carrying a May vest or not wearing a May vest. In fact, when we go on the boats, we always have an inflated life jacket in a small boat like that.
Right.
On a bigger ship, you get enough time before the ship can sink or whatever can happen, God forbid. But in Navy, obviously, they're very sorry about their own people have also died.
Yes.
They have heartfelt condolences.
There's clearly been a lack of oversight. Things have been overlooked over here, which is why I want to ask you, the Gateway of India harbour is also among the most congested boat harbours in India. Do you feel that the Navy made the right choice to choose this proximity for an engine test? As we know, tests can also go wrong, and that's exactly what happened.
Akanksha, let me correct you. The boat was not operating out of the Mumbai harbour. It was operating from Karanja harbour, which is quite far.
Right,
and from Karanja, it was doing the trial in line with the Karanja, area.
No, which is why people are questioning the importance of doing these trials during non-peak hours. It was doing so, even if it was in following a trajectory, as you are saying, was happening during peak hours, right? Which is why the collision happened.
No. One sec. You see, what happens is there is no time limit for the ferries. The Navy, apparently, they will come to know during the Board of Inquiry, they carried out 3 days of study as to what is the time when there is traffic is nearly zero. And that is why this 4 o'clock takeoff or 4 o'clock launch of the boat was planned. And that is why he was quite surprised to see this ferry, coming so close, which we will get to know as we go through the Board of Inquiry. But yes, there's no doubt that it was not an intensive traffic time.
Absolutely. But, because, going by your own experience, I'm sure you will be able to tell us better if the Navy has been looking into whether or not, they are navigating with care and accountability in such areas which also have commercial traffic going to, say, a location like Elephanta Caves.
True. That is why they do a survey prior to these trials, engine trials, 2-3 days in advance, and they see what is the least time. And there's no other, they have chosen a 4 o'clock time for this reason. Otherwise, they could have gone at any other time. Why 4 o'clock? Because the traffic actually begins to build up from about 5 in the evening. Okay? About 5. Don't forget that in the West Coast, the sun sets much later than what you see in Delhi. So I would say that while it is for the Board of Inquiry to find out as to what went wrong,
True.
Why did he go in that place, was it a time for peak traffic, all that will be found out. But as far as the Navy is concerned, they found 4 o'clock to be a suitable time.
No, but that's exactly what I was coming to you, because reports are also indicating that they mostly conduct such trials in the mornings, which are non-peak hours. And as you rightly mentioned, that was not the case if they opted for 4 p.m. Having said that, let me come to my other question. Some reports are also saying that Navy, is conducting its boat testing during these non-peak hours, which, as I rightly highlighted right now, is in the mornings, and this was not the case. Is this something now that the Navy needs to look into going forward?
I'm sure they will. They will look into every aspect and make sure that even these accidents which have happened, and it happened in actually non-peak hour as far as the Navy is concerned. 4 o'clock was not the peak hour as far as these traffic is concerned. But I'm sure Navy will look at another timing now. I'm sure they will say, fine, why not early in the morning? But let me tell you, these, while the boat, timing is such, whereas the JNPT traffic, because that is the time of, the sea being absolutely still, the bigger ships begin to come in and come out, right? The huge ships, there are container ships, there are cargo ships, they keep coming in and out of JNPT.
Yes.
And this Karanja is closer to JNPT.
No, and I'm sure you will agree that these are congested waters that you are looking around the Gateway Harbour, which is, of course, as we all know, the location also becomes pivotal. Lastly, I just want to end this discussion by asking you about, are there any checks to check overcrowding in ferries? That has also seemed to be the case in this.
Well, I am sure there must be, because I have not taken ride on these boats, and I am not very sure. But if there is 100 passengers, I am sure.
And clearly it's not happening. I'm afraid I'll have to leave the conversation there because I'm running short of time. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining in on Brass Tacks. And with that, it's time for a quick break. But coming up next is the former National Security Advisor of the United States under the previous Trump administration, Ambassador John Bolton, who will be sharing what Trump 2.0 will be looking like from 2025. Stay tuned to Brass Tacks.